Okay, I've been having so much fun with this awesome tutorial that I just watched from Mr. Sorbius. He is the, as far as I know, the originator of this technique. So this is not my own idea. This is not an original concept, but in the spirit of open source Blender community, I'm going to kind of rehash, remix, and present what I've learned from him to a new audience. And go like his channel. He's got some great stuff. Very talented man, very inspirational. And I am so excited about this because I love that Blender can do so much more than just 3D. It can do 2D and beyond. And it's really fun when you find a crazy way to use something in an unconventional way to make something awesome like these patterns. It's going to be kind of weird at first, but then you're going to have your mind expanded like Neo and you're going to find so many possibilities. So in a new blend file, let's press the number 7 to get a flat above view. Shift A, add a plane. I'm going to size it up, I don't know, S8, enter. All right, I'm going to select my camera and press Alt-G to reset the location to the center, and then Alt-R to reset the rotations all to zeros. So now the camera's in the middle looking downward, which is generally not very helpful. I'm going to press GZ to move it up here, press 0 to go to the camera view, go to the camera settings and turn it into an orthographic camera, which means completely flat, kind of two-dimensional in a sense, or rather there's no third dimension, there's no perspective and depth and, disappearing horizon. Everything is flat, like some games do. So instead of a focal length control for wide angle or zoom, we have the orthographic scale. So just set this to where it can see, basically the edge of your square, and it looks like 16 because I sized this by 8. This plane is 8 times larger than it was by default, and an orthographic scale of 16 fits perfectly on the edge, which is going to be good for what we're going to do. And let's change our overall render size to a square. So I'm going to be Blender friendly and say 2048 by 2048. Enter. Cool. So our render is a perfect square and it's perfectly fit to the plane. All right, let's divide our view in half and get our shader node editor up here. Press new to make a new material. I'm holding Alt, by the way, to go over here. Let's delete our BSDF, Shift A, and add an emission. Just going to click on the search. There we go. I don't ever go through these add menus ever. That's just so Stone Age, right? It's all about Shift A and search, baby. Cool. All right, so let's start building this crazy, wacky pixel art shader, which, by the way, you can get on my Gumroad for free. Because like I said, it's not my idea and it's just something for fun and it was fun for me to make. I'm not charging for it. So if you just want a quick and easy, just go download it for free. But why not learn to make it yourself, right? Customize it and learn a few cool tricks along the way. So Shift A, we're going to use the ever so popular Checkered Texture. Don't we all just love the Checkered Texture? I mean, I use this in every scene. Actually, I've never used a checker scene before this tutorial. So this is why I was kind of excited because it's using something I never touch. And it's plugged into my emission, so that's how I can see it. We can control the brightness, of course, later. But let's make a mix RGB node. So Shift A, click search, type in mix RGB, put it right there, keep it on mix, and keep that at 0.5. Let's set this scale on the first checker texture to 2, because it's going to get crazy. We're going to go up to 128. We're going to make a whole bunch of these. Don't worry, it's exponential. It'll go quick. So click on there and click on there, holding Shift, and then Shift D. Move it on down. We're going to plug in this to color number 2. And this output is going to be color number 1. So this is basically going to start a cascade of checker textures with a mix, plugging into the next mix, which is going to mix it with the third and then the fourth. And it's going to keep going on all the way down. So click, hold Shift, Shift D to duplicate this output into color 1. The new checker into here. Cool. So this guy is mixing that. This will mix, on down the line. If you want to do it like this, you can for visual sake, but it's going to get a little messy. So I'm just going to make it all vertical columns so things don't get too crazy in here. But I do like to keep the mix in the middle. So I know that mix is for those two, right? This is for these two. So let's keep going on down. I'm just going to do Shift R. Remember that hard surface modeling trick works for nodes too. Okay, so now I got to fix these. Color 1. Color 1, output to color 1, output to color 1. All right, how many do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right, that's a good number, 8, right? We're going to do computer bit numbers here. So the scale for the next one is twice the last one, so 4. What's this one? 8. And then 16. Then 32. then 64. How high are we going to get? 128, 256. I actually went up to 1024. I think on the one that you can download. I just kept going. I wanted an extreme pixel detail, and yeah, you can do that if you want to, but we'll just stop there for now. So what the heck are these? Well, this is mixing. Let's preview each one. So let me zoom out a little bit. Let's preview this first mix. It's mixing between this large checker and the half as large checker. Then the next one down is mixing between that mix and even smaller checker. So this going from this to this. Next one down is from this to this. See how we're getting smaller in resolution? Now from this to this, it's going all the way down to this guy, which is from this pattern, which looks like a cloth or like a, what is that, carbon nanotube thing, to that, even smaller. All right, so let's undo our node wrangler. Just go back to normal. There we go. Now we're going to use this final output down here, which is all these things all stacked on top of each other at 50% each. And we're going to use this as a normals or a vector input for a noise pattern. Weird, right? Yes, that's where it's beautiful. So let's start with a noise texture. You can use the other noise textures. We will use some in a minute. I'll get there. But we're just going to plug this first one into vector and then plug in this factor output into the emissions. So click and drag up, plug it into color. It's loading and I see nothing. That's okay. There's a few more steps until we can get some awesome random pixel lines and patterns going on. Shift A, let's make a color ramp, which is going to give us color controls. And let's also add a map range to help boost and adjust things before they get colorized. All right, so over here, let's pan up to the color ramp node and change this to constant so we get an either or kind of deal here. Oh, I just found out some of my mixes were messed up. Make sure these are all at .5. .5. Okay, they're all at halfway. Okay, good. Now, as we drag our constant gradient white point from right to left, watch what happens. We're moving down. Where is it? Where is it? There it is. Oh, yes. That's what's happening to our noise texture. It's getting destroyed by crazy checker layered vector data, which is not what a vector should look like. But that's what happens. It just freaks out the noise and does cool stuff. So with it on constant, I mean, you can do ease and the other ones for smoother color transitions. But I mean, I feel like it's a little bit more controllable with constant. So let's put some colors. Let's make the brightest color, or the top, right? Let's think top to bottom. Top value, bright, blue, sky blue, okay? Going to be up here, and we don't see anything yet, so we can actually boost the incoming signal by changing the max. We can drag it up to where it just, some things just become light blue. There we go, just those dots. Okay, let's add a color below or to the left, a little bit down from the top, and let's make it maybe a rich blue. Cool. Another color, make like a nice kind of medium purple. Ooh, that's a little contrasty there. Maybe something warmer. There we go. Really give myself a headache here. And you can add as many colors as you want, but try to pick, color schemes that, I don't know, look nice, work together, analogous colors or things like that. You can play with this kind of incoming bottom level. This is like the base level of it, that will kind of move it up and down in the gradient. If you keep going all the way up, everything ends up in the upper register. So find a good mix you're happy with. It's going to always be tweaked later. Now let's go back down to the noise texture and see what these settings do. So if we change the scale, it doesn't really change the scale of these because these square shapes are coming from all these checker layers over here, which is the normals data. So the scale does affect the noise, but not in the way that we're used to. If we go really close, if we go to 0, it's just nothing. We go just above 0. It's very simple, very cool, kind of Nintendo looking test patterns. That's pretty neat. And as I'm holding shift, by the way. If you hold shift, it goes up by, looks like it's going up by 1/100th right now. Keep going up, keep going up. Things are, see, there we go. We're getting more complex. And as we get closer to 1, it's what we would expect. And you can just keep going up forever and it gets really complex. So that's a really cool thing to play with right there. You can, of course, change this to 4D, and you can play with the W factor, which is like the 4th dimension. And when it comes to noise, like the noise texture and the Musgrave texture, I call it evolution. It just kind of evolves the noise endlessly. It doesn't hit a ceiling. It doesn't hit an ending point like scale does. It doesn't go up or down. It just shifts through the the evolution and the cycles of random noise patterns, which for this is perfect because we want randomization. So there's that. There's detail. As you bring your detail down closer to 0, it's actually pretty complex. And as you bring your detail up, I mean, it's just different, you know, play with that. Roughness is cool. It shifts from like the bottom register, which I see some more oranges, and all the way to the top. Now there's like blue, which is where in the top quarter. Distortion, of course, freaks things out. So, wow, pretty fun, right? What I did in my shader is I actually have multiple color options that you can use. And the way I did that, because there's no like preset here, which there totally should be. Blender, why is there not like a drop down for presets? Come on, we need that. I'm sure there's an add-on, but it should be built into Blender. So I'm gonna actually expand my color ramp out this way so I have more fine control over things. And I'm just gonna make another one. Shift D, move it on down, plug this in there. Then I'm going to grab this output and plug it in place of the other one. There we go. Now I'm going to make something totally different. I'm going to make the bottom end like a bright red, going up to an orange. Then we're going to shift color wheel sides to the blue. Let's do like a cyberpunk pink. Now things don't look great right now because I need to kind of readjust the values with the ramp node. Cool. Yeah, so if we play with this to max value, we can kind of get a good mix of what we like. There you go. I put my to minimum at close to -2, and then my to max just above +2, and that seems to get a good range of all the colors that I'm using here. You can switch these around to see, you know, what it looks like if you shift things. Change where the colors start and end. All right, so that's all cool. But what about the other noise textures? And this is something that Mr. Sorbius, I don't think he did. I think he just stayed with the noise texture, but there's others. So let's use the Musgrave texture right here. Plug in this color data into the vector, which is generally a no-no. And then let's swap this out right there. Plug that in there. Oh, let's turn off clamp. I probably should have done that earlier. And I see nothing. Let's put this back to 0. And to 1. Ah, there's some cool patterns. Awesome. Let's play with these settings. So scale. Awesome. Let's do detail down, detail up, dimension down, which makes the noise pattern way more complex. And there we see way more complexity coming out to the color ramp. Great. Lacunarity up, lacunarity down. Kind of boring down there, but more like 8-bit looking stuff. This is really busy up here when you have a higher lacunarity. Now we don't need to stick with just one noise pattern. We can actually combine the two into something more interesting. So let's grab one of these mix RGBs, Shift D, drag it over here, and let's drag our noise texture into color 1 and Musgrave into color number 2. So now we can crossfade in between noise and Musgrave. Get a cool mix, and we have a lot more detail coming through, which again gets chopped into 8-bit pixel patterns. You can also use blend modes like overlay, screen, multiply to basically keep noise texture on the bottom, but then layer Musgrave on top in different ways. That's overlay, that's soften, that's screen, and that's multiply. All right, so can we animate this? We definitely can, because we have so many parameters that we can animate either with keyframing or with drivers, which is even better because it's automatic. We have a ton of options on what to animate to change the look of this stuff. So let's stick with the most easiest and endless parameter that we can manipulate, which is the 4D W factor. So let's make a value, shift search, VALU right there, shift A, make a math node after that. Set it to divide, and let's grab this value and plug it into here, and then the output, the resulting math answer is going to go to both W's. And here's a really awesome trick I do in plenty of my other tutorials, but in case you haven't seen them all, this is the frame trick. We can animate, I call it auto animate. I think it's technically a driver or something like that, but click on any value, any number value, and any node will work this, but we're going to do this one for now. So press number sign or hashtag if you're a millennial, and then type in the word frame, enter. So now every frame, whatever the frame number is, that's what that value is. Look at that. I'm just pressing the right arrow on my keyboard to shift through the frames. Frame 14, frame 15. So if I press play, I'm going to get a seizure. It's a little crazy, but we're going to use the division node, the divide math function, to slow that the heck down. So instead of every frame being a new value, we're going to chop it up into tinier pieces with division. So let's try 100 and play. It's a little smoother. Let's try 1000. Ooh, cool. I like that. Let's try 5000. 5 times slower than that. Nice. Little holograms coming to life. Beep, beep, boop, boop. Looks like a cyberpunk city street plan from a SNES game, right? You can further tweak the colors without completely changing your color ramp by using a hue and saturation node. So Shift A, click on search, just type in the word hue. There we go. Now we can click on the hue slider and drag that left or right to basically shift all these resulting colors around the color wheel. And if you hold shift, it moves the factors a little slower. So it goes from 0 to 1. It shifts everything around the color wheel together. And yeah, you can get different colors. That way you could desaturate it. You can add extra saturation. Just keep that at 1 though. If you want to control all the scales of this together, here's another cool trick with the math node. We're going to control just one of these scales, just this first one, the number 2 scale, right? The starting scale. And then we're going to use that number and multiply it by 2 to control all the others. So first we're going to put in a math node right here. This is the very first starting one. Set it to multiply, plug it into scale, and let's just start with this value of 2, right? Multiply it by 1. So we're getting the number 2 coming out of here. That's what we want. We're really just going to control this guy. But I'm going to click on multiply math node, Shift D, drag it right there, and we're going to multiply that number by 2, but we want to keep this original 2 value going into this scale. So try not to confuse you. Math, I know, math confuses me. I barely passed pre-algebra. It was bad, guys. So math is not my thing, but I can multiply by 2. Hopefully you can too. So the number 2 is coming out of here and controlling this scale. Now we multiply this by 2 and we control this one, which is a 4. Then we're going to multiply that by 2. So drag this output into that input, plug that into there. So this resulting number is 8, just like we had. And go all the way down. If your computer keeps recalculating the render here, just go to like wireframe mode or something, and that'll speed things up a lot. All those double multipliers are going to control everything from one simple number, which is 4. Let's go back to material preview. Sorry, did I say 4? I meant 2. So now we can change one number and everything follows it. Ooh, look at that. High definition. We can even do weird numbers like 9 or whatever. But, you know, if you want everything to tile or whatever, maybe just keep even numbers. Ooh, got a X design going on. Let's try like 32. Oh my gosh. My eyeballs, they're bleeding. Let's go back to 8. I liked 8. 8 looks awesome. It's almost like a fractal, you know? Now you can get different results if you play with these mix RGBs. Remember this column of mix RGBs that we had right here? They're all set to mix, which is so basic and so boring. What if we use blend modes? We could definitely get other looks, but first let's play around with just the mix factor. So I'm gonna split my view to make this a little bit easier for you guys, show you more of the eye candy. I always make the best part of my screen so tiny. I don't know why I do that to myself. Okay, zoom in, here we go. We got everything vertical, right? So why not just embrace it, put it over here? This looks very weird to me, but it's way more efficient. So if we play with the mix factor, this first big square, we're getting a change on the large scale of the detail. If we move down a few nodes, we're getting smaller detail alterations. Skip another one, go down, it's even tiny, it's even like more fine detail. Wow. Wow. Let's go all the way to the bottom. It's just a sea of swimming pixels. I think we need motion sickness. So if you want, you can try, like I said earlier, multiply, screen, overlay, and soft light are kind of good starting points, but it's all going to result in just crazy, random, unpredictable stuff anyway. Like, I mean, if you completely understand what's happening, you're a genius, like you're a savant or something. I don't understand fully what's happening here, just the surface, the tip of the surface of the iceberg. So that's fun, lots of possibilities there. I'm gonna go back to mix, put it .5. Now for my procedural texture geniuses out there, I know you guys know how to tile shapes like hexagons and triangles and stuff. Start plugging these into this, and I can't imagine what amazing designs you can get, and you can have like a lot more stylistic control over the randomness that I'm making here. But that is it for this video. Thank you, Mr. Sorbius, for awakening us to the power of the Checkered Texture node that no one ever uses. And this is a ton of fun. So Hope you guys enjoyed it. Go download my pixel art shader for free. It's a node group, so it has a bunch of convenient control sliders, but you can go into that node group and tweak the heck out of it and make it your own. So that's it. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe, comment down below, and hope to see you back soon.